This podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors. Your San Diego County Toyota dealers. We've got what it takes. Fix Auto. Corky's Pest Control. And Lolita's Family of Restaurants. Hey there, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of the San Diego Prep Insider Basketball Podcast. I am Thing 1. This is Thing 2.
And there's no cat in the hat.
That's a nice literary reference right there. That shows that we read through school. Yes. We read all the way through.
All the way through kindergarten.
That's enough for me, though. So, folks, it's time to move on to the next round of the playoffs.
Yeah,
You excited?
Very.
I'm excited. We had a great bunch of games, and this is what's happened after the dust has settled. So we're going to get to our game selections. We're going to break down every matchup. Tommy's going to contribute. He's out remote today. Let's just start with, can I get one word reaction to the entirety of the first round?
Bedlam.
Bedlam. I like it. I love it. We'll stop there. We'll keep on moving. Our very first game up here in the upper corner, we got SFC coming off a win against San Marcos, or coming off a win against Mira Mesa. They are now taking on San Marcos, who beat West Hills. Aaron, break it down.
Oh, man. Well, you know what? This is a really interesting game because both scores were the exact opposite of what I thought. I thought Santa Fe Christian was going to cruise through Mira Mesa. They're up 8 at halftime. You know, I stopped even looking at the scores. The next thing I know, there's this tweet that comes out from Santa Fe Christian. Worst quarter we've ever had. Outscored 29-15. We're down by 11 in the fourth. What? Against the 16th seed? Meanwhile, San Marcos, we're up 20. We're up 25. We win by 19. So really didn't expect that. So what happens now? Now, you know, San Marcos has to go into Santa Fe Christian. Santa Fe Christian's had a tenable home court advantage. They've won a few games. They lost a couple of games on their court. I want to say that Owen and Sheriff's and crew will right the ship. And, you know, this is the most tepid, endorsement I'm going to give Santa Fe Christian all year. But I think they eke out a narrow victory over a game San Marcos team that continues to improve as the year goes on. But obviously by show those results against West Hills, I think Cody Clouette has found has had his shooting rhythm all year, and he's shooting it at an insane rate right now. I think somebody that we haven't talked about a lot on the show is Xander Corbin. He's a senior shooting guard, didn't play a lot his first 3 years, more of a baseball guy, really came into his own as a senior. He's playing well. Elijah Randall's playing well as a freshman. They've got size in the middle, but I still just believe that Owen Asheris, Charles Dudley, Matthew Stevenson, and crew will get it done. And I think that the battle of the point guard position, where Owen Asheris doesn't really have a mirror on San Marcos, is going to be the deciding factor. I say Santa Fe Christian by about 4 to 5 points.
I'm going to go with a different deciding factor. I'm going to agree with the same result. I'm going to say Santa Fe Christian wins this. I'm going to say that the size is the deciding factor, and I want to bring up Dimitri Washington and talk about how him combined with Charles Dudley equals too much physicality and size for San Marcos to ultimately handle. They've got San Marcos, you talked about Clouette, they've got the shooters. San Marcos put together a really aggressively offensive season all year long, but you look at the teams that they've been doing it against, there's just that kind of common denominator of they're lacking a little bit of the interior battles that they had to fight to win those games. So that's where I see this one as SFC comes down to it. They've got the ability to just get within 4 feet of the hoop, and ultimately, if they really have to, just lay him off the glass for a win. Owen Asheris, though, is going to have a bigger game than against Mira Mesa just because of the literal matchup that he has being very favorable for him. So I'll say SFC by maybe 6 or 8.
That's saying a lot because Owen did have 29 points last night.
I mean, there was a lot of point guards that dropped big. The superstars came out to play. It was the kind of, there was enough stars out that you could have camped very comfortably outside.
Game balls on.
Oh, we can't even give out game balls right now because we would spend the whole podcast doing that.
Sporting Goods is out of game balls, guys. We're gonna have to do that another time.
So that makes 2 out of 3 for this one. Tommy, lay it on us.
Hey guys, thanks for including me remotely. I will start with the first game, as you just mentioned. I got Santa Fe Christian in this one. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Okay, let's move on to the other half of that matchup. This game right here, This one is awesome. Folks, if you just moved to San Diego County and you know nothing about basketball, I'll tell you this. This is a rematch of last year's Division I championship game.
Oh, man.
And now they're doing it again. And like, this is the kind of storyline that you hear in the NFL or in something like that. This is a big-time game right here. El Camino, Kearny. Aaron?
Ooh. And for those who were there at last year's Division I finals knows that game turned into a boat race really fast. And unfortunately, and El Camino was in a rowboat, and let's just say it wasn't pretty. This is a little different. Gone are the seniors that really molded what Kearny, had become last year. Dakota Brown. Congratulations to Dakota, by the way. He was all-league first team at Miramar Junior College this year. But you still have a lot of holdovers. Robbie Robinson, Joseph Davis, Emmanuel Azores had a decent year. And then, of course, you've had, I think it's Treshawn Gray is the guard who hit the game-winning putback to get them over the hump. Another game winner. Yeah, exactly.
Robinson dropping 30+.
Whew, just crazy. But here is the issue. Kearny barely squeaked by an Army-Navy team that, albeit they've got two really strong weapons in Richard Polanco and J.C. Kanawate, that game should have never been that close to begin with, in my opinion. So the fact that they struggled through that concerns me. Now let's go to El Camino. El Camino played another Coastal League opponent. I guess a common thread is the Coastal League is really good, ladies and gentlemen.
It's the epicenter of high school basketball.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, you had Francis Parker, which was at the bottom of the league, giving El Camino all it can handle until the fourth quarter when their best sophomore, Jacob Jovian, went down with an injury. We're hoping that you get better, Jacob. We'd love to see you during AAU season. So, but El Camino did end up winning that game by 15 points. I think that El Camino has the advantage here. I love what Jalen Flanagan has done this year, but I think the deciding factor is going to be Trevor McFeely and Devontae Shepard. If they can just provide minimal resistance to the freight train that is known as Robbie Robinson, then El Camino stands a really good chance to get the upset. We still don't know where the game's being played. It probably will end up being played at Mesa College. Get on out there. This is going to be a really good game, a close game. I'm picking the Wildcats in the upset.
This one's tough. This one of all the games that we're going to pick today might be, I'm going to say this one will be the toughest to select out of all of them. And I'm glad that you kind of mentioned as your closing point, we don't know wwhere this game is going to be played, because this one to me has the vibe of, if you told both these teams to meet at a 24-hour fitness at 2 a.m, they would bring their A game. Like this is a game with all the marbles emotionally on the line for both these teams, because they both want a shot at each other after last year's D1 title game. They both are teams that have had some highs and some lows this year, so they've got a lot to prove. And you look at the way this bracket goes down. If they meet up with SFC, that's teams that they've both had a shot at already. Like there's a lot of emotion and repeating. And hey, we've seen this team. Let's bring it again. That being said, my picking style has a lot to do with the emotions of the game and riding the emotions. And I think in playoffs, you kind of got to distance yourself from the actual X's and O's and just go by the gut. And going by the gut, the Kearny Comets have not done me wrong yet this season. So I'm going to ride with Kearny for one more game. Comets are going to get it done. Tommy, how do you see it?
This one's going to be tough. Going back and forth in this one a little bit. El Camino looked good in their last game, but yep, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go with El Camino in this game.
All right, switching over to the other side of the bracket now. The Young Bucks, Boogie Ellis and company getting it done big time against Escondido. We saw, we saw the writing on the wall there. Other side for them is Lincoln after they take down Eastlake in a close one.
Really tight one.
So this game, a little bit more about the shooters and the offense than some of the other ones we've had in this bracket so far. Break it down for me.
Now, of course, both these teams, Western League opponents, they're very familiar with one another. Lincoln got one on it was on Mission Bay's floor, and then Mission Bay returned the favor by just curb stomping Lincoln a few weeks ago. I personally think this is Mission Bay's game to win. If Lincoln was playing with a full deck all year, I think that Lincoln would have gotten this one. We talked about earlier, in our previous podcast, that Lincoln played the entire season without Raekwon Everett. They've had an opportunity to adjust without him, but I still think that missing piece is going to be what does them in on this one. Mission Bay, on the other hand, really young team, 5 sophomores that play significant minutes, a smattering of seniors. This is the beginning of what will be one of the top 5 teams over the course of the next 2 years in San Diego. And I think that Mission Bay, this is a game where they kind of come of age, they get this win, and from there on out, we've talked about it. There's so much parity in Division I. Teams have beaten each other, have beaten up on each other. There's no clear favorite, and I think that Mission Bay now with kind of that tailwind, into their sails, I really think that they get it done and they move on and they still have a chance to do some more damage.
So you say they're going to put out the main sheet, pick up a little speed, and be going more knots.
Yes.
And the jib and the halyard and the crow's nest and all sorts of boat things. All right.
Yes. I'm on a boat, not
with your flippy floppies. Okay. Look, for me, this one comes down to the litmus test of how real Mission Bay is. With all the sophomores starting and whatnot, they could have won that ESCO game, lose this one, and you'd be like, hey, look, they got a playoff win, man. That's building.
Yeah.
This, though, is to me, like you said, for that foreseeable, the 5-year plan, this is where we see whether or not this team is actually the real deal. This is a tough game. This is a game that they have the potential to win, but they also have the potential to lose. Lincoln's going to bring, like you said, they've made the adjustments. Lincoln's going to bring one level. Mission Bay is the one that's got the flux. Are they going to be above or below that level? Mm-hmm. I think that they will. I think that Mission Bay is going to win this one, and I want to say that for all the Boogie Yellows we've talked about, I want to put the focus on Marcus Nickerson and say that one of the few seniors that he'll be the emotional trigger that goes through this to show the young kids, hey, look, we're out of time. It has to happen now. Like the playoffs are when it has to happen because he's been there for a couple of playoff games and runs over the years. So I think Mission Bay has just enough to eke this one out. I think that this one's going to be a game that we'll probably have some dry spells in and we'll probably have some hot spells in. But I think that Mission Bay comes out on top.
We're in agreement.
Yeah. Tommy, do you agree with us?
Give me the Buccaneers. Boogie. Marcus. They're on the last episode. Go watch that clip. Got the Buccaneers.
Okay, last game in Division I, we got Cathedral Catholic and Poway. Aaron?
All right. We're coming down to some of the last podcasts we'll do this year, and I just got to express my disappointment with how Cathedral Catholic has performed all season. Haven't had an opportunity to do it this year. I've tried to give them the benefit of the doubt and see where this season's headed, and it was headed to a disastrous end in the first round of the playoffs. They trailed Grossmont the entire game. And, Grossmont, while, a seemingly solid team, doesn't have the greatest of resumes, really controlled that game until the very last minutes where Cathedral ditched the man defense that wasn't working, switched to a zone, and were able to eke out a win. That's not going to work against this Poway team. This Poway team is deep. This Poway team is talented. They have 2 juniors who are really coming into their own. Especially, I know you want to talk about Jordan Cook Harper. I'll talk about
the whole team. They got enough in there.
Yeah, we talk about Derek Sitt, who's one of the more underrated senior point guards in the class. Zach Ryder has, been a very stabilizing force for this team for 2 seasons now, entering his junior year. But the growth of Jordan Cook Harper is what has put them over the top. And I think he provides the resistance to Brandon McCoy just enough to give Poway the resistance it needs to do the rest of the work. I see Poway winning this game on their home floor. I see Brandon McCoy's senior year ending as many of these games have ended. Him scoring 30, the team losing. And that's a disappointment to me, given the fact that he's a McDonald's All-American, and they just haven't gotten the job done all year.
I'm going to agree with you. I think Poway takes this one. To me, it just boils down to this is balance versus big. Mm-hmm. And Cathedral has the high highs of Brandon McCoy, but they just don't have the well-rounded approach that Poway does. This is a Poway team that can rebound offensively and defensively. This is a Poway team that has just good ball movement. Yeah. Like they make crisp, clean passes, and they find the shots that they want to take, not the shots that they're gonna take. Mm-hmm. And that might sound very fundamental and base, but sometimes that's all you need to do to win. You just need to have guys like Zach Ryder and Jordan Cook Harper and Derek Sitt, and you go down that line of Tim Mills, and you get further and further down, and you're like, well, there's no downside really to that lineup.
Don't have a drop off.
You might not say, okay, any of the Poway kids would be in my starting five if I was putting together a dream five county-wide. But at the same time, you'd kind of take their starting five over anybody else's just because there are no holes to it. Yeah. So I'll say Poway in this one. Tommy, how about you?
Cathedral squeaked out a close one. I thought they'd win by more against Grossmont, but Brandon McCoy really showed up for them that game. I think he's going to show up again. This is going to be another tight one, but I've got the Dons.
Okay, Aaron. That wraps up our Division I picks. This is going to be, I feel like no team is going to get out of this without being bloodied and beaten. And
I could see both of us either going 4-0 in our picks or 0-4 in our picks.
I'm probably going to go 0-4, knowing my luck. But hey, we're looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about our picks and seeing you out at some games. Aaron, you can be at one of these maybe? You don't have to tell them where. Just maybe. It's on the list.
Okay. Perhaps
he's still going to decide what game he's going to, and we will see you guys in the next round. Thanks for watching.